have reported earnings. So we'll first talk about some of the trades that I made today. And then secondary, we'll talk about the potential opportunity that you can look into starting from tomorrow. Okay? So with that being out of the way, let's look at the trades that I made today. Today, its market was moving pretty well in the first half of the market. Then I actually sold off towards the end, second part of the market. I think the highest point was around 323 for SPY, but then it ended up by selling a lot of, it ended up closing at 321. So it's a very interesting market, definitely it's earning kind of a place because there's a lot of volatility, there's a lot of uncertainties. So SPY, for example, it was really strong in the morning, then it kind of just started off and then closed really bad towards the end of the day. So what you're looking at right now is the extended hour. So from the extended hour, it seems that SPY has rebounded above the 321 and now trending towards 2167. And then the day actually was a little bit interesting, like I mentioned earlier. If we just focus on the today's daily, starting from around the 2 o'clock, it's really started to sell off from 323 all the way to 321. So with that being out of the way, let's look at the trades that I made today. First of all, I made a trade about Tesla. So Tesla reported earnings last week. It was a very good earning report, but the market was very interestingly, the second day it started to sell off. So Tesla actually didn't move too much. What I did today is basically selling a vertical put spread to collect the premiums. So I sold a spread at 1250 and with protection of 1240, a very tight spread. A spread that, such a size and ended up, I can collect premium for $125 that are going to expire in August 14th. So Tesla trade is a very volatile trade, so be very careful on that. Again, all those are just ideas. None of this is actually recommendations. So do not trade if you don't know what's going on and trade at your own risk. Option, you can potentially lose all the money, so be very careful when you trade options. Okay, the second trade that I made today is closing the Snapchat. So I have Snapchat stocks, and I sold a Snapchat put expiring on July 31st for the price of $150, a couple weeks or even months back. So today SPY is actually, there was some sell off towards the end of the day, and for the Snap, interestingly, it didn't follow too much, but it has shown its momentum from the earnings last week. So last week when they reported earnings, it kind of dropped below the it dropped below the $22. It actually dipped at 21.53, and it kind of climbed back all the way from that point on. And with the fact that SPY was selling off, it also kind of just started trending down. So I sold off, I closed my SPY put around this bottom here. So for some of you not very sure what selling the put really means, so I have another trade for a Snap that are expiring in September 28th. Basically, it's the identical trade that I closed earlier that was going to expire by July 31st. So the trade I was talking about is actually this trade right here. So just to walk you through the methodology behind it. So basically, by selling a put at $22, you're expecting, there are two purposes. One, if you're a long-term believer of the stock, you can sell a put spread at $22. So once the stock underlying drop below $22, you're obligated to buy shares, and the price you will pay for those shares, 100 shares, will be the difference between the $22, which is the price for the stock, minus the premium that you're selling. So in this case, if we ended up buying 100 shares of Snapchat, we're talking about getting them at the price of $22 minus the $1.73. So really, we're talking about $20, 23 cents. So that's a good way of collecting shares that you really believe in at a the discounted value. The other approach for selling a put is you're expecting the share price of the underlying, the stock will stay above the certain level. So if it stays above $22 and expires staying above $22, you will collect the premium 100%. So there are two different ways of the objectives that you can think about when you're selling a put. Either way, I am a long-term believer of Snapchat, so I'm fine either way. I have shares already, so I don't mind having additional shares, and I can purchase them at a cheaper price. But if I ended up not getting those shares, I'm fine either way too by collecting the premium. So that was the rationale behind my trade. The third trade that I want to talk about today is the ARKG. ARKG actually is the stock, and I closed it off. I bought the ARKG earlier today, then I actually sold it off because the market was dropping and I don't want to hold it over the night. So here are all the trades that I made today. So next, let's look at some of the earnings. Really the two biggest things I want to discuss is first of all, AMD. AMD has reported earnings. It's again, showing a very strong momentum coming out of this earning report. So if we look at the AMD trade, it really jumped from $67 to $74.80. Last week when Intel reported earnings, it jumped it. People were expecting AMD was going to take additional shares from Intel, and then the fact that AMD reported very good earnings, again, just reinforced that idea. So AMD is something that you can look into, but I think it's already very, very expensive in terms of the option price. So maybe a good idea to look at just buying shares for AMD stocks. And overall, the chip sectors are all doing really well. AMD, SWKS, Texas, and they're all pretty much, being on upward trajectory for the last couple of days, except Intel. Intel actually dropped again, today. It's really below the $50, which is a critical level that a lot of people are thinking about. And I don't know why is my chart not loading here. It was because I typed in the wrong thing. Apologize. So basically, it dropped from $60 with a bad earning report, close at 50, and now it's about 48.72. So there might be potential opportunity where you can sell a put on the Intel, but the put price on the Intel stock has also been pretty expensive the last couple of days. I actually have some puts that I purchased earlier last week after the earnings, so we'll see if they can actually increase in value. But so far, it's pretty far away out of the money. We're talking about from dropping from $48 to $40. So I'll keep looking at it. And last but not least, I want to talk about Starbucks. Starbucks reported earnings too. Again, this goes back to what I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. So if you didn't watch the video, I was, a week and a half ago, I was thinking that Starbucks is going to surprise everyone. And it did actually today. The rationale behind that is, Starbucks, if we look at their long-term stocks, it's been pretty much hammered during the COVID, and it quickly rebounded. Now more and more people are getting tired of the stay at home, and people are coming out buying coffees, and the fact that China really opened in a very good condition, which is the second biggest market for Starbucks, again proves there's demand for Starbucks. So I come into this trade here expecting Starbucks would go above and beyond, and actually did. So I have some Starbucks calls that I purchased last week. I think mine was about $87. So I will see tomorrow if it's going to pop or not. So the call that I put at that I bought was around $87.50, and I think my strategy is always if it goes above, I'll take some of my initial investment back, then I'll write it out for the remainder of the call. So with that being said, again, here are all the plays that I did.